The town called Ugep was originally, or is known by the people as Uma. But the name Ugep was given to the town by the British who came in through Agwagune. Agwagune people called Uma Ugem, and the British modified Ugem to become Ugep, and that is the name of the town now. Ugep is the center of a cultural community known as the Yakurr people. They include Ekori, Mpani, Idomi, and Nko. These are the core communities of the Yakurr people, who are reputed to have come from a place known as Akpa. Now, the culture of the Yakurr people is that it manifests itself in the ability to farm, do hard work, and harvest a lot of yams. The way you show that you can, you are a hero in that sense is if you are able to get a title called Ledu. For Ledu, it means that you are able to have more than 400 sticks barn in a yam barn. And up till now, young people still try to achieve that feat. The year, in terms of the community, begins with people clearing their farms to make their heaps and plant their crops, which are principally yams and cocoyams and beans and things like that, but the cassava. But the most important crop for which anybody is known or obtains recognition is the yam, which is produced in a year. So the Obolopun and the matrilineal leaders have authority governing the town by regulating the farming season, so say, which begins in January or February, depending on how the rains come. After that, the Obolopun and his chiefs count how many market days constitute a year. So from the clearing of the farm, they count the beginning of the year. It's not actually the beginning of the year is after August, which means that the year of the community, of Ugep community, begins from August to the following August. In other words, it is not that the year begins in January, but that the counting of the year begins from the end of the festival of Leboku to the following Leboku. So the counting of the year begins immediately after the Leboku festival, and therefore the year ends with the festival. After that, the counting begins until the following festival. Now, after the clearing of the farms, you have people planting their crops, and from the counting of Obolopun and his chiefs, they will regulate when the year is about to end, and the year ends with the harvest. The harvest is at Leboku. They know when the harvest is approaching, and they follow certain rules in counting the days that lead to Leboku. They also count the days that Leboku will last until it ends. When it ends, the new year begins. The Leboku Festival is the main event of the year for the community. Whatever the community is doing is leading to that festival, which is the Harvest Festival. Leboku is a festival, a community festival, which expresses many things. One, gratitude for the product, for the produce they are able to obtain from their farming. And Leboku itself is therefore an expression of gratitude to God, who has made that possible. Leboku also is a festival which brings the people in families to come together, even if they have had some problems before. They try to settle those problems and make the festival a period of happiness, of joy, of gratitude to God, of friendship, of, I would say, the joy of life. So the festival itself is a manifestation of the people's expression of the joy of life.
In the Leboku, we have 2 days, the Women's Day and the Men's Day. Here, the Women's Day we use to prepare themselves for the Men's Day. It is the Men's Day they made in Paris the street to show themselves to husbands who will be their husbands. They will parade themselves to show for them to choose their wives. On the 3rd day of the Leboku, they will gather here at the roundabout. The young men who are looking for wives will come there to choose any of the women, any of the young maidens you want as a wife. You choose a maiden and show to the whole community that this is your wife. People start talking about marriage there. Then 6 days after that, 6 days after the Men's Day, is a Kibonga Day. Kibonga is for women, young men, youths. They will parade the street wood. They go to a farm and harvest trees on their own without a knife. They have any tree you touch, you harvest the tree and bring it to town to show your strength, and that is used to parade the whole day on the 6th day of Leboku.
There are many who participate but do not physically uproot trees. Being a traditional society with bias for metaphysical learning, it is believed that both successfully lead to easy procreation and success in life. The chief priest of Yakurr is Obol Njokolo. Obol Njokolo is believed to inject magical powers on young men who uproot trees during the Yakurr celebration. Such is to enable them uproot the trees without much problems. He may have earlier arranged for the maiden who will join him round the entire street of the town. She will carry a container of powder to pour on his body whenever he demands it. At that moment, he regards his maiden as the most beautiful girl on earth. While on parade on streets, they are physically abused by distant participants. The Obongo then chase the abuser, who will run away to escape the wife. Most of those they will pursue to wipe are mostly females. On many occasions, the women with their children who stand by the roadside for the Obongo will strike them with his bare hands. It is believed that such strike would ward off all forms of impending calamity, such as illness. Barren women also call on the Obongo to strike at their back and ward off the misfortune of childlessness. Such power, it is believed, is invoked from the gods whom the Obongo had contacted before.
Now, the Obolopon is the one who does the counting of the months that come to the festival, which usually falls towards the middle of August. So whatever else the paramount ruler, the Obolopon of Ugep, whatever he is doing along with his chiefs, they are moving towards this period of festivity. So I would say that that festivity is a culmination of the entire life of the people. In it, people have the opportunity of expressing their personal successes in life. They have an opportunity of coming together and expressing their joy of life. It's an opportunity for communities which have problems because of land dispute and so on, of forgetting those problems and making sure that life goes on properly. The festival itself, the Leboku festival itself, begins in earnest with the chiefs celebrating, marking a day in which they collect palm wine from tapas to begin the sacrifice to the gods for giving them life to be able to produce food for the community. From that day, people become aware that the festival is coming very near, because that day where the chiefs collect palm wine from wine tapas to appeal to the gods to give the town peace and love, so that the festivity would take place without any adverse incident. That is an appeal which is made by the ritual priests to ensure that the gods are in agreement with the date which had been fixed for that festival. And they follow the traditional ways of counting until the peak itself is on Leboku Day. Leboku Day is celebrated with what is called Ekoi. And Ekoi itself takes place now. It used to be around 3, 4, but now it starts earlier, about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You have the dancers, men who come to show how to celebrate, how to show happiness over the year that they have passed through, with the expression of gratitude to God or to the gods for their life. These, because in Ugep itself, we have 4 main communities, which are Ejiman, Ijom, Bakapil, and Biko Biko. These are the 4 main communities which are joined together to form Ugep. And each of these communities will bring out 1 male dancer who comes to dance in celebration of the festival. After that, which is the main event, Ekoi dance. Then you have young girls, coming with their various dances from the various four communities which I have just mentioned: Ijum, Ijiman, Ipakapil, and Biko Biko. These four communities produce young girls who fix bangles and show their dexterity in dancing. Bangles are very heavy. They are leg bangles. They are heavy. So any girl who is able to wear those bangles is looked upon as someone who has determination, who has strength of will to carry the weight of those bangles and still dance very well. So young men usually look at those girls who are able to do that very well. And in fact, in the past, it used to be that that is the day that young men pick the girls they want to marry, because they can see that those girls carrying heavy bangles and well adorned in terms of decorations on their body, and carrying cow tails and other decorations, that is the day that you can pick a girl that would be a good wife. And there is always a saying on that day that be careful on this day in picking the girl you want to marry, because you may be deceived, in the sense that she may be able to carry the bangles and dress very well, and then you admire her, and because of that you fall in love with her, and then you marry her. So be careful in your choice. It's an important idea in the minds of young people who grow up, because they attend that thing in order, they attend that dance, the Ekoi dance, in order to see which girls are resilient enough to carry heavy bangles and are well dressed and dance very well. At the end of the day, which is the main day in the calendar of the Ugep people, the Leboku Day, the Ekoi Day. After these festivities, the concept of the culture is that many people would have over-enjoyed themselves. They would have taken too much palm wine. They would have taken other drinks, nowadays beer and other things, and enjoyed themselves so much that the gods will not be very pleased with their behavior or some of these excesses. And so after that day, the ritual priests go count the number of days that they would use to appease the gods, to tell the gods that they are sorry if people have exceeded, have done things in excess. And they call that, first of all, you have the day in which people, young boys, go into the bush, into the forests, and uproot trees to show their manhood. It's one of those things that young men do in order to show that they are heroic, they are strong. It is something that I myself did, and it is something that I've introduced my boys to go and try and do, but they were not able to do it the way it should have been done. I was able to assist them, but it is a way of uprooting trees with raw power, uprooting them without cutting the roots and so on. But boys are nowadays take shortcuts. If the tree is big enough or heavy enough, I believe that they are not usually able to uproot the tree itself. They find other ways of making it possible for them to uproot the tree by cutting the roots or digging around the tree before it is pulled off. But that is not what the tradition says they should do. But as I said, young men, some of them who have no power to do such things, but they use these tricks to uproot the trees and parade themselves on that day. Again, this is a manifestation of joy and happiness and heroism and ability to show that you are strong enough, you are a man. As a result of that, the priests with the culture feel that people have exceeded what they are supposed to do. People have they have done things which are, in their opinion, not according to the culture. And so 6 days after this event of Ekoi, no, not Ekoi, Lobo, 6 days after the festival itself, Ekoi, you have 6 days in which you have Lobo, and after 6 days again, the priesthood in the town, which is the cultural government of the town, they appeal to the gods. They go around the whole town, appeal to them that those who have exceeded whose behavior had been not good enough for the culture, they have not behaved according to the rules of the culture. Please, the gods, forgive them and bring peace to the town. That is actually the end of the year. So it is after that peaceful appeal to the gods that the Obolopon and his ritual priests begin counting for the following year. In other words, the end of the year is after the festival, and they begin counting from there for the following year. So when you have Christmas, you have all that. That Christmas is not part of the cultural calendar. The end of the year is after the peaceful appeal to gods to please forgive the excesses of young men and young women who have abused the period of the festival for things that are not allowed by the culture. And when they go around making that prayer, they go down the whole town making that prayer, and after that, that is the end of the year. That's the end of the year. And they start counting. The counting is done by a specialist. He keeps the date. That's why for each year, the festival begins at about the same time, because the counting must start from that day for the new year to begin. Let me end by appreciating the effort of Tour Camp 19 and Goodness Omini for undertaking to exhibit Leboku Festival and to bring to the notice of the Yakurr people and the Ugep people as a whole to appreciate this event from 1970 to the present. I believe this will be a serious contribution to the youths and the people of Yakurr to take note of what the festival is in their life and what this will bring in future of the youth of the people.
Well, this exhibition is profound. It is the first of its kind in the history of Yakurr community, especially when you're talking about an exhibition on one of their most prized cultural heritage, the Leboku. Looking at the history of Leboku, some of us don't even know which year exactly it started, but putting together an exhibition of this kind, dating it back to the 1970s to the present, it's very, very profound, because it will be beyond just the exhibition. It will be like a preservation of our culture, perhaps in pictures. You recall in 1975, December, the community of Ugep was burnt or razed down by fire, and in the process we lost a whole lot of our artifacts. We lost pictures in people's homes. So recalling this exhibition, dating it back to 1970s to the present, it's very, very critical, because the pictures we might find, we can turn them into artworks which will now be preserved either in museums or preserved in people's memories, or now better off preserved in exhibition halls and across. So it's very, very important that this exhibition takes place and all the support it can get. I am very proud of the gentlemen who are putting this exhibition together, for them to have thought about it and called it Echoes of Our Heritage. It's a wonderful development. All across Yakurr communities, there's always Leboku celebrated. From Idomi to Ugep, from Ugep to Pani, Ekori, Nko, Agoy, Asiga, Yema, Ekpeti. They all celebrate this wonderful heritage of the Yam Festival. So putting all of them in one space, in the walls of paintings or photographs, and calling it exhibition as Echoes of Our Heritage, it's wonderful. Beyond just the display, I believe the pride of the people will be enhanced. The Leboku itself will have more value. You're adding more equity to what they already have. So rolling this exhibition, it's a beautiful thing. It's going to bring, if the exhibition, for example, is holding in any of the communities, perhaps during the Yam Festival, it's going to add more color to the festival. We've never had an exhibition of this magnitude during any Ugep festivals since, how many years now, ever I was born. And I believe that alone will attract more visitors, because today in Ugep, for instance, we have two what we call festivals. The Leboku Festival itself, the Ugep New Yam Festival, takes place in August, and a few days after, towards actually the end of the festival, the Yakurr International Festival, sponsored by MTN or so, or funded by the state government, also holds, where you bring the entire Yakurr community to Ugep to hold this Leboku. So having an exhibition on the side in this manner, it's profound. It's going to add more value to the Leboku itself and to the people who will take more pride in it. And again, if we are working with the artists of the local communities, you begin to see that their works will now have a value. It will be priced, and people will buy them. And then you might travel to Dubai or to UK or to London, and you see a piece of work that depicts our heritage hanging in the walls of very important cities. It's a wonderful development, and that alone would encourage more people, instead of going into crime or instead of just being idle at home, they begin to put their hands in the creative and utilize their creative energies. That's what I think this exhibition is really going to do for the community of Yakurr.
The importance of storing our cultural heritage is for the generation yet unborn. We have to keep it. Otherwise, if we don't maintain it right now, then the generation coming after us would not know exactly how their parents have come to about or how they live. So the importance of it is to maintain the culture from generation to generation.